So now we're going to start working with structures. So the first structure we're going to see is an anticline. So remember, our rocks always start out flat lying. So we're going to have rocks that start this way. And remember, where do we find our oldest rock? At the bottom. So our oldest in all of these diagrams you're going to see are always going to be labeled as a number 1. So number 1 are the oldest rocks. So if I was to look at this, right, I would have number 1, number 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So remember, our rocks were initially deposited this way. Some force is now going to come along and cause these to bend. So we need to figure out ways to identify this. So let's take a look at this first one, and this is called an anticline. So in an anticline, you notice that we have an upward arching trowel, right, in our cross-section. Remember, this is cross-section view. So if I was to look at it from the side of the road, like you saw in the previous slide, you would see this upward arching diagram there. Right? It's very easy to recognize. It looks like a sad face. Anti means hate, so that's how I remember it. It's sad, right? It doesn't like geology. So, easy way to remember that. However, right, we want to understand what's really going on here. So remember, if my rocks start out as flat, right, one's on the bottom, and they get pushed in so they get folded, what's going to happen is that oldest rock ends up staying in the middle. Take a stack of papers. Pretend the bottom paper is the oldest, and now make them into this upward arching trowel. You're going to notice that the bottom paper stays in the middle. So for an anticline, it's always easy to remember because the oldest is in the middle. And we have our youngest layers on the outside. So if and when you get to a test and you can't remember this stuff, bend your paper, bend your test, and see where that oldest rock ends up. Now, the next thing I want to do here is add the striking dips, because this is really important. Because understanding those striking dips tells me if you understand the structures. So, let's put our strikes in. Strikes should be easy. I'm just drawing this, right, the same direction that my beds are going. Now, hopefully you notice we have this repeating pattern. So, right here in the middle, right, my beds are going to be dipping in 2 different directions. Hopefully over here you notice, let me put one on each side here. Hopefully you notice over here my beds are going to the left. And hopefully over here you notice my beds are going to the right. So I'm going to put my little hash marks on those correct sides. So in an anticline, my beds are dipping away from each other. Okay, so that's the easiest way to recognize them. My oldest rock is in the middle, and my beds dip away from each other.